Hello everybody, my name is Richard Zoltek and I will be providing the video tutorials for this program. This is lesson number 3. And today we're going to be focusing on starting the actual project and creating the layers that are necessary for the project and then working and manipulating between the layers. We're going to start a brand new file, and there's two different options in how we can start a file. I can select File New as we have in the past. In here, it'll automatically display the template file. The other option here is to go into the Direct Access menu here, and under New, the arrow that points down, it'll roll out a menu, and you may see AutoCAD DWT there as well. It doesn't matter which way you go about doing this now. If it is a personal laptop that you've loaded AutoCAD, these different options will be available. On the school's computers, they may or may not be available. So here we have a brand new file, and the first thing we're going to do in here as we focus in the Layers menu is to adjust the units to our project requirements. So I'm going to type in UNITS, and I'm going to select decimal. The precision level is set to 0 for this project, and for the insertion scale we want to use millimeters. And now we're ready to go. So from here I can start creating different layers, and you can see in this menu dialog box there's different ways of accessing it. We're going to try different methods to figure out which one's easiest for you. So I'm going to click on where it says Layers Property option, and this gives us the dialog box that allows us to create layers, add colors to them, give them different properties, and we'll slowly go through this as the program continues. Layer 0 is the default layer, and we want to leave that as is. We never work within that. It has a particular reason. It has to do with merging files and making sure there's layer continuity. So we're going to leave that alone, and we're going to create all the layers we need for the project. So this icon here, where it shows multiple layers of what looks to be pages, and there's a little blue asterisk or snowflake at the bottom. If you click on that, it allows you to start making new layers. Now you're going to notice the word layer 1 is already highlighted, so we don't have to click anywhere else. We'll simply type. So we have two different sets of walls. I'm going to identify both of them here. Walls exterior. And once I've done that, I'm going to click on the new layer icon again, and you'll notice it highlights right below that, and we're going to type in walls interior. And from there, we're also going to type in some of the other items we have in this project. For instance, doors. And I'm going to create a new layer called windows. Here, let's call this one floors. And let's create another layer, and let's call this one plumbing. And so you can see it really is an typing exercise at this point. Furniture, but you'll need this for your own project. And I accidentally triple clicked. Now you'll notice that my mouse delay, because I'm recording this, came up with 3 new layers. So let's learn about changing the names of these layers. Let's say you accidentally do this. What do we need to do? So I'm going to click on layer 1, which hasn't been named. It just went ahead with it. And if I right click on it, I can rename the layer. And this one will be called appliances. And I'm going to do the same with layer 2. I'm going to click on it, right click on it, select rename layers, and call this cabinetry. And plumbing 3 in my case is extra, so we can always right click on it and delete it. Now, interesting about deleting layers, if I've drawn in this layer, it won't let me do this. So that's a cue to you if you, in case you want to delete a layer, and it doesn't allow you. It just simply means somewhere on the drawing you've actually drawn in that particular layer. And at the top of the menu, I'm going to click on Name. And what this does is readjust your layers in alphabetical order. Now you'll notice it's in descending order. If I click on Name again, I get ascending order. So I want to make sure I've got everything. Appliances, cabinetry, furniture, floors, doors, windows, walls exterior, walls interior. So we created these layers. Let's see how they work. You'll notice that they have multiple functionality here that we can assign right to a layer, and that simply helps us with control. We can turn layers on and off globally, and then specifically based on where they're located. Now, a lot of this stuff in here we don't really adjust right away, but if we accidentally access them, and I'm just moving this over so we can see them, accidentally access them and turn them on and off, sometimes when we go to plot, we don't see a particular layer. It simply means you accidentally clicked on the icon that says don't plot that particular layer. So that may come up much later on when we start working with the program, and usually it happens when you're frustrated and you're trying to print very quickly. So just make sure that your layer menu has all the particular elements on or off, so that when you try to perform an action, or in the case of plotting, it actually gets seen. So we're going to adjust colors just so that we can see them better. I want my exterior and interior walls to be black. Now, black and white are synonymous. So if I have a black background, they'll appear as white. If I have a white background, it appears as black. And actually, you'll notice that the color chip is black, but the actual wording is white. So those two are basically used in tandem based on what your background is. For Windows, I want blue. So I'm going to click on the actual color chip here. And you're going to get a select menu color. Now there's all sorts of colors we can work with. It's best to just use the 7 primary that are here along with the 8 and 9 chips, which are basically colors that we use for hatching, just because they're a bit more subtle. So for the windows, I want to pick the blue, which is color number 5. And we select it here, click on OK. And I also want that for the doors. So I'm going to go into the doors chip and select color number 5. Select OK. And for the appliances, I'm going to pick magenta, which is this color right here. And we're going to apply that one. For the plumbing, we're going to be doing the same. For the furniture, we're going to be picking the green color, which is chip number 3. And for floors, let's go to cabinetry. And for cabinetry, because cabinetry works very closely with appliances, I also want it to be magenta. And for the floors, let's pick cyan. We may end up moving that over to one of the lighter gray colors, but it's to demonstrate how it actually looks on your screen and what is easier to see. So for now, we're going to pick cyan. Later on, we're actually going to change that. And everything else seems to be fine. So how does this menu function? The little green check mark here identifies what layer is current. We can only draw on one layer at a time, but we can edit in as many layers as we need. So I'm going to begin my project by creating some exterior walls. So I'm going to click on it, and that layer gets highlighted. And if I double click on that little icon here to the left, it means that it's current. Now there's several different ways of doing this, but this is the primary way of doing it when the layers property menu is open. Later on, we're going to adjust the types of lines, and we can have all sorts of different types of lines, line weights, and so on. But for now, we'll just leave this menu the way it is. Make sure walls exterior is current, and I'm going to close this. Now that list is actually right up in here in the ribbon, where it shows us all the different layers that we created. And that ribbon is a very fast and easy access to switching between layers, and that's basically how we use it. So we're going to draw this item, and remember last time we talked a bit about limits. So in order to determine that value, what I'm going to do is draw the overall size of the drawing first, from outside wall to outside wall, and then be able to determine what my limit value is. Now, the drawing that I provided is actually in metric and imperial, just to show you that you can draw in both methods. As a decimal value, I'm going to be drawing mine specifically in meters. So all the values that I've got listed on that drawing are in meter values, and then we're going to convert that to imperial to be able to dimension and see what those numbers come up with. So to draw the outer limits of this particular object, I'm going to go into the draw menu, but instead of selecting line, I'm going to select a line here that's called construction line. And it has some unique properties that are really good for building a project from the beginning. So when I click on that, I'm going to click anywhere on my drawing, doesn't matter where I'm clicking. And you notice that it generates a line, and as you move your mouse, it snaps to that horizontal and vertical location. What's interesting with this construction line is it stays on either after you create a line. So it's different from a line command, and I'm going to click on a horizontal position and a vertical position, then I just press enter and it removes the line command. So it's a very quick way of generating a horizontal and vertical plane. Now I'm going to offset those lines to the outer edges of my drawing. So what's offset? So offset is taking an existing line and duplicating it. So it's up in this modify menu. It's this one that looks like a double C. And if I click on it, all I do now is type in the value that I want to offset. So my overall width of this particular drawing is 12.43 meters, and I'm typing that in to get from here to there, and you can see it's already positioned. If I move my mouse on the other side, it would offset that way, but I'm moving it this way, and there it is. And then my overall height or width of this project is 6.01 meters, so I click on offset. I type in 6.01, enter. Click on the line, click on the side. So there is my plan. This is the size of the layout that I've constructed. So from here, I'm going to then generate my outer edges of this, and I can, if I want to, I can set a grid or anything to help me with my perspective of the drawing. I don't need anything else. So there's exterior walls. So I have all these extra lines here, and I'm going to click on the line tool, and it's automatically set to find these intersections. So where do we set these values? If I hold down shift and right click, these are all the different points of geometry that we can find. These are called temporary overrides. But if I go down into the drawing aids menu down at the bottom, you notice there's a square with a square. If I click on that, these are also my snap settings, but they stay on continuously. So it's always looking for an endpoint, always looking for a circle, an intersection, and extension. I'm going to remove extension. I want it to find intersections, endpoints. I don't have any circles right now. I will later on, so I'm going to remove that for now. The fewer the better. The tendency is to have too many, and then you don't know what icons are coming up and what they actually mean. But by doing that, I can click on the line tool, and I can draw the four corners of my project, just like that. And now I'm selecting these construction lines, and you can see they're nodes are very different from a line, and therefore I want to get rid of them. If I click on a line, you'll notice I have an endpoint, and a midpoint. So I want to keep that line, and these are the outer edges of my project. Now, the walls in this project are 0.25 meters thick, or 250 millimeters. So I'm going to select offset. I want to put in the thickness of that wall. So in my case is 0.25 meters, and I select the line and the side I want to offset it into. There we go. And you can see what I'm doing is I could actually select the outside, but I want to go on the inside. And then I want to trim all these edges. So how do I trim? So trim is a command that's very similar to extend, and they're in the they're both part of the same submenu. And when I click on trim, I can go over top of the excess lines and remove any of the line work that I no longer need. Here, offset, the way it works is it takes the existing geometry and duplicates it on a side. Now, if I actually had a line on an angle, let me just draw a line here at an angle, and I select offset, I want to change that to 0.25, and click on the line, click on the side. Notice it matches the distance and the angle of that line. So that will do that to any line that we have created. And I just created a quick crossing there and deleted it. And it helps us with being able to create multiple thicknesses. So I'm looking at my project, and I'm going to create a number of different horizontal and vertical lines and then work within it to create the inner walls. Now, remember I have two sets of layers, exterior and interior. when you use a modify function, it takes on the property of the existing line. So I'm going to click on this outer line. That was the first one I had drawn. And you can see it says wall exterior. If I press escape and click on the inside wall, it also says wall exterior. So how am I going to make these interior walls using offset? I'm going to use the existing walls and then change their properties afterwards. Okay. So I've got a bunch of different room layouts, and offset's the easiest way to work with this. So I'm going to start at the bottom left-hand corner and create a bunch of spaces there. And then I'll stop midway and go to the other side. So selecting offset, I'll type in a value. In this particular case, I'm going right to including the doorways and all that. So the very first offset is 0.1. It does the entire length of the line. Then the doorway opening there is 0.61, so offset 0.61. And then the next value is 0.91, so offset 0.91. And then the wall thicknesses is 0.11. These are all in meter values. So I'll select offset, type in 0.11. And I've drawn that room. Now you really don't see that room until I do the next set of lines. So the actual distance of that laundry room is 2.31 meters. So I'll select offset, 2.31, enter, click on the line, click on the side, and again that wall thickness is 0.11. Offset, 0.11, click on the line, I keep missing line, and click on the side. Okay, so what have we actually drawn here? So here is that little laundry room, and here's the door opening. Okay, if I select trim, I can go along here, and you can see how that room is unfolding. There is the doorway, and there is the room. So I can keep doing this and adjust the rest of the space. So you'll notice that there I have another doorway above it at 0.2, 0.2, enter, click on the line, click on the side, and that doorway is 0.61 as well. Offset 0.61, click on the line, click on the side, and then there's a little bit of a space for the casing, and that's 0.1 meters. Offset 0.1, line, side, and then the thickness of the wall itself is also going to be 0.11. Offset 0.11. That's the back of the closet, and the front of the closet, or the wall of the closet. That closet is going to be 0.63. From here to here. And then the thickness of that wall, like all interior walls, are 0.11. And then I've got a number of different sides, but what I'm going to do is just make the wall that's on the other side, and that's 1.98 meters. So I'm taking all these numbers right off the drawing. 1.98. And then it is 0.11 thick, 0.11, enter. Now, a couple things here. First of all, I'm going to press escape. If I click on a line, you'll notice it says exterior wall. These are interior walls. I don't want that. So how do I get around that? I just pressed escape now, and using a crossing, there's no command involved here. Using a crossing, I've selected all these lines. You notice it still says up here that they're exterior walls. By scrolling down in this menu and selecting walls interior, these are now interior walls. So if I click on the line, see it says wall interior. If I click on this line, it says wall exterior, because that's what they are. Now it's a matter of remembering, what do these lines actually mean? So I can go back into trim, and many of these lines refer to this door here or this wall here. I'm going to use a crossing by clicking down below this last line here, and see what I'm doing? Selected all those lines. I got rid of them because I don't need them. Same with in here. Now I've zoomed in so I can really make this close. Okay, there are all the lines here. Now the top of this is actually where that wall is going to be. So you can see I'm doing this real quick now. I'm going to select those, select well, these, so that you can actually see that top closet. There's our closet door. Now the opening isn't there, but there's our closet. Where's the wall? This is the wall right here. So I don't need these. In fact, I don't need any of these in here. And I'm just clicking. And you can see these bars open up for me very nicely. That shows me where all of this is going. And there's the door opening. And here's the back. Well, I'm going to remove these even though it's not in the drawing, but it's much clearer for you to see. Now, what about all this? Well, this is just basically this intersection in through here and here. So a couple things I can do. This is the easiest way I find to do it. I'm going to remove everything that is relevant to that door opening and that door opening. Then I'm going to press escape. Now instead of trimming, I'm selecting these two lines because I don't need them and I get rid of them. So there is my entire opening of the three rooms, the closets, the bathroom, as well as the laundry room. But I'm missing this opening in here. Again, I can do that after the fact based on the dimensions I have. I select offset. From the left side, it's 0.36. And again, all these numbers come from the drawing. That moves in. And from the other side, it's 0.43. So offset, 0.43, enter. There we go. And then select trim. And with trim, I just click a line, click a line. Here's some extra lines here. And these ones I'm just going to delete. Okay, so I've shown you a couple techniques here. You have to complete your drawing, all the walls, using this technique. And the idea behind the repetition is to help you become coordinated with using offset, trim, the values you're putting in, where the numbers come from, and putting it all together. So today's lesson was basically just on layers, working with lines, working with construction lines, working with trim, modifying this to look exactly like the layout that you have for your project.